Well. As soon as I start talking to you, Rocky's going to wonder if there's somebody in the yard. Pretty comfortable here, actually. Very comfortable, eh, Rock? Rocky's guarding my yard. Our yard, I guess. Because we have squirrels and rabbits and deer that keep walking around, and he's making sure that they don't come into our area here. So today we'll do some reading, and I got some Shel Silverstein poems because hey, that's the way it goes. See you, buddy. All right. So yesterday we made invisible ink, and I said, hey, this was a story that kind of goes along with invisible ink. Another Robert Munch favorite, and another one that I bought March 22nd, 1993, when my daughter was not even a year old. So, oh yeah, she was a year. Okay, so I gotta go for this one because that's the only books I have left over. It's the ones that I got. So this one is purple, green, and yellow. So all of you that are taking colors, and we've done a lot of stuff with colors. We did the chromatography and we took the colors off. We changed colors when we did a little science experiment with the purple cabbage. Yesterday we used, it's all there. Science is around you, even in books. Bridget went to her mother and said, I need some coloring markers. All my friends have coloring markers and they draw wonderful pictures. Mommy, I need some coloring markers. Oh no, said her mother. I've heard those coloring markers. I've heard about them. Kids draw on the walls. Kids draw on the floor. They draw on themselves. You can't have any coloring markers. Well, said Bridget, they're these new coloring markers, and they wash off with just water. Those are the ones we use for chromatography. Water soluble. And I can't get into trouble with those markers if they wash off. So can you get me some of those? Well, said her mother, all right. So her mother went out and got Bridget 500 washable coloring markers. Bridget went to her room and drew wonderful pictures. She drew lemons that were yellower than lemons. She drew roses that were redder than roses. She drew oranges that were oranger than oranges. Yeah. Keep 'em busy. Keep 'em busy while being in the house. You gotta keep busy. Her mother was amazed. Wow, my kid is an artist. But after a week, Bridget got bored. She went to her mom and said, Mom, did I draw on the wall? No, said her mom. Did I draw on the floor? No, said her mom. Did I draw on myself? No, said her mother. Well, said Bridget, I didn't get in any trouble, and I need some new coloring markers. All my friends have them. Mommy, there's coloring markers that smell. Yeah, there's ones that smell like roses and lemons and oranges and even ones that smell like cow plops. Because I got to get that in there. Cow plops. Mom, they have coloring markers that smell like anything you want. Mom, I need those coloring markers. Her mother went out and got 500 coloring markers that smelled. And Bridget went upstairs and drew pictures. She drew lemons that smelt like lemons. She drew roses that smelt like roses. She drew oranges that smelt like oranges. And cow plops that sounded, they smelt like cow plops. If they sounded, it would be, and then there'd be a big circle, and then you make a clock out of it. That's what people do here in Camrose. Anyway. Her mother said, wow, my kid's an artist. But after a week, Bridget got bored. Mom, did I draw on the floor? No, said her mother. Did I draw on the walls? No, said her mother. Did I draw on myself? No, said her mother. Well, Bridget said, I need some new coloring markers. I need the best kind. All my friends have them. They're super indelible, never come off until you're dead, and maybe even longer coloring markers. Mom, I need them. So her mother went out and got 500 super indelible, never come off until you're dead, and maybe even longer coloring markers. And Bridget went and she drew for 3 weeks. She drew lemons that looked better than lemons. She drew roses that looked better than roses. She drew oranges that looked better than oranges. And sunsets that looked better than sunsets. And probably some rainbows. Rainbows with the right order. Roy G. Biv. Yes, she did all of that. Then she got bored. I'm tired of drawing on paper. You know what? I'm not going to draw on the walls. I'm not going to draw on the floor. I'm not going to draw myself, but everybody knows that it's okay to color your fingernails. Even my mother colors her fingernails. So Bridget took out the purple, circle, indelible, never come off until you're dead, maybe even longer coloring marker, and she colored her thumbnail purple. And that was so pretty. She colored all of her fingernails purple, black, and yellow. And that was so pretty. She then colored her hand red, yellow, green. Yeah. And that was so pretty. She colored her face purple, green, and yellow, and blue. And that was so purple. She's pretty. She colored her belly button blue. And that was so pretty. She colored herself all sorts of colors, all entirely all over her. And then Bridget looked in the mirror and said, "What have I done? My mother's going to kill me." She ran in the bathroom and washed her hands for half an hour. Nothing came out. Her hands looked like mixed up rainbows. Yeah. Then she had a wonderful idea. She reached down to the bottom of the coloring markers for a special coloring marker, the same color as she is, and she took that marker and colored herself all over for regular color again, and she noticed she looked better than before. So that was almost too good to be true. She went downstairs and her mother said, "Why, Bridget, you're looking really good today." "Right," said Bridget. Then her mother said, "It's time to wash your hands for dinner." But Bridget was afraid the special color would not stick to the color underneath, and she said, "I already washed my hands." But mothers never believe that, do they? But her mother smelt her hands and went, no soap. And she took Bridget into the bathroom and washed her hands and face, and the special color came off, and Bridget looked like mixed up rainbows. "Oh no, Bridget, did you color your hands with the coloring markers that wash off?" "No." Did you wash your hands with the coloring markers that smell?" "No." Did you use a super indelible, never come off until you're dead, and maybe even longer coloring markers?" "Yes." "Yikes," said her mother. She called the doctor. "Help, help, help. My daughter has colored herself with super indelible, never come off until you're dead, and maybe even longer coloring markers." "Oh dear. Sometimes they never come off, said the doctor. The doctor came over and gave Bridget a large orange pill. He said, "Take this pill and wait 5 minutes and take a bath." So Bridget took the pill. She waited 5 minutes. She jumped into the bathtub, and her mother stood outside the door and yelled, "Is it working? Is it working?" "Yes," said Bridget. "Everything is coming off." And Bridget was right. Everything did come off. And Bridget walked out of the bathroom, and she was invisible. "Oh no," yelled her mother. "You can't go to school if you're invisible. You can't go to university if you're invisible. You'll never get a job if you're invisible. Bridget, you've wrecked your life." "Don't worry," said Bridget. She ran down to her room and got her special colored marker, colored herself entirely all over, and you couldn't tell difference. In fact, she looked even better than before. Almost too good to be true. But her mother said, "Bridget, you can't go through life like that. You're not a picture. Everybody will know there's something wrong." That's what she looks like. She's coloring herself. "No, they won't," said Bridget. "Yes, they will," said her mother. "No, they won't. I colored Daddy while he was taking a nap, and you haven't noticed, have you?" "Good heavens," yelled her mother, and she ran down to the living room and looked at Daddy. He looked even better than before. Almost too good to be true. Probably, made Daddy thinner and gave him some pecs, "Doesn't he look good?" said Bridget. "I couldn't even tell the difference," said her mother. "Right," said Bridget, "and neither will he, as long as he doesn't get wet." Yeah, let's go for some poems here. So some of you are keeping busy and you're doing a puzzle, making a puzzle. Have you ever grabbed the old puzzle, put it together, and there was one piece missing? And that's what this one is called, picture puzzle piece. One picture puzzle piece lying on the sidewalk. One picture puzzle piece soaking in the rain. It might be a button of blue or a coat of a woman who lived in a shoe. It might be a magical bean or a fold in the red velvet robe of a queen. It might be a one little bite of an apple her stepmother gave to Snow White. It might be a veil of a bride or a bottle of some evil genie inside. It might be a small tuft of hair or a big bouncy belly of Bobo the bear. It might be a bit of a cloak of the wicked witch of the West as she melted down to smoke. Help me! I'm melting. I love that part. It might be a shadowy trace of a tear that run down an angel's face. Nothing has more possibilities than one old, wet picture puzzle piece. Yes. Shel Silverstein. Shel. Now, some of you are learning new instruments now. You got nothing to do, so you're learning how to play a ukulele, maybe. Learning some good old rock and roll with a ukulele. Dun, dun, dun. Maybe you pulled out the flute or something. Maybe you're playing the guitar. Now you got dreams of being in a rock and roll band. If we were a rock and roll band, we'd travel all over the land. We'd play, we'd sing, and we'd wear spangly things if we were a rock and roll band. If we were a rock and roll band, we'd be up there on the stand, and people would hear us and love us and cheer us. Hooray for the rock and roll band! Ah! If we were a rock and roll band, we've had millions of fans. We'd giggle and laugh and sign autographs if we were a rock and roll band. If we were a rock and roll band, the people would all kiss our hands. Well, not today, not in this society right now. We'd be millionaires with extra long hair if we were a rock and roll band. But we ain't no rock and roll band. We're just 7 kids in the sand with homemade guitars and pails and jars and drums of potato chip cans. Just 7 kids sitting in the sand, talking and waving our hands and dreaming and thinking, oh, wouldn't it be grand if we were a rock and roll band? Yeah. Banging on some invisible drums. That's kind of like the Rolling Stones. Asians. If we meet and I say hi, that's a salutation. I guess we should say Asians. If I ask you how I feel, that's consideration. If we stop and talk a while, that's a conversation. And if we understand each other, that's communication. If we argue, scream, and fight, that's an altercation. And if later we apologize, that's reconciliation. If we help each other home, that's cooperation. And all these Asians add up to make us a civilization. And if I say this is a wonderful poem, that's exaggeration. Yes. I'm going to finish with one little wee tiny one. One little wee tiny one called Anteater. A genuine anteater, the pet man told my dad. Turned out it was an aunt eater, and now my uncle is mad. So, get stuff to do. Read, write, learn an instrument, become part of a rock and roll band. You're making your future right now. Start writing comedy bits, and then you can grow up and become a comedian and tour all the big places like Smithers and stuff. Thank you. Have a good evening or day, whatever. Bye.